Welcome to the Florida Gardener Podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer, and here are 5 things that are important to understand when gardening in the Sunshine State. Number 1, winter is summer, summer is winter. I'll say that one more time. Winter is summer, summer is winter. What I mean by that is winter in most parts of North America means gardening slows down or stops altogether. The ground is covered in a blanket of snow. In Florida, it's the best time of year to garden. The humidity drops and the sun isn't as intense. Pest and disease issues usually drop too. Everything is bloomin' and growin'. When it comes to summer, many parts of North America welcome her with open arms. They are outside seed starting, gardening, and having a grand old time. Summer in Florida, especially Central and South Florida, looks a bit different. Not only is it extremely hot, but humidity is out of control. You're sweating as soon as you step outside, and it feels as if you are literally carrying the sun on your shoulder. Most people stay indoors during the hottest parts of the day, which is pretty much the entire day, July through October. 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. is rough. Because of this, many people don't want to be outside tending to their beds. Pest and disease issues are also at an all-time high because the humidity combined with the heat is the perfect little concoction for these suckers. Many of our local veg growers don't even sell produce at markets during the summer months. They shut down until later in the year. Now, this absolutely doesn't mean you can't grow year-round ornamentals or edibles in Florida. I have beds of flowering perennials and annuals blooming and growing year-round and without irrigation. But understanding and embracing our backwards seasons will definitely give you a leg up. This leads me into number 2, which is think Caribbean. We have more in common with areas like the Caribbean, Central America, and Southeast Asia when it comes to our weather and plants compared to California, Midwest, or even New York. This is especially true when it comes to veg and fruit gardening. The fruits we are most familiar with, apples, common berries, cherries, grapes, etc., either won't grow here or will be very difficult to grow. But if you think about what grows in other subtropical to tropical environments, you realize there are a ton of options. Some of the more common tropical fruits you can grow down here include mangoes and bananas, but other less common ones include Barbados cherries, specifically that type, Barbados, mulberries, and guava. When it comes to veg, absolutely, you can grow common leaf veg and tomatoes. You have a short window for this though, because it doesn't cool off until December, and then the heat starts to creep back in come March. However, if you want to expand that window, we have a Florida native tomato called the Everglades tomato. It can withstand our hot, humid summers. And while not a true spinach, Malabar spinach, Malabar, tastes pretty frickin' similar. It's an Asian leafy green that once again welcomes hot, humid weather. And if you like sweet potatoes, those bad boys grow down here year-round. Number 3, exposure. What does it mean when a plant needs full sun? Well, in other parts of the country, that probably means southern or even western exposure. For us, that's not necessarily true, at least not year-round. After all, we are pretty dang close to the equator. In Florida, especially Central and South Florida, full sun plants may be able to handle eastern or even northern exposure depending on the layout of your landscape and the position of your home, especially during the summer months. Number 4, there is no such thing as a houseplant, just low light plants. This is one of my favorite things about living in Florida. If you've lived down here for any amount of time, you've probably noticed a few quote-unquote houseplants in a residential or commercial landscape. That's because houseplants that are sold across the country naturally occur outdoors in, you guessed it, warm tropical environments. Now, many of these plants are from rainforests, where they receive filtered light growing under the canopy of large trees. That's why many of them have larger leaves and can handle low light conditions in our homes. The reason I mention this is because as you are gardening outside, if you have any shady areas in your yard, this might be a fantastic spot for a houseplant. This doesn't work as well in other parts of the country, but in Florida, it's their natural habitat. And just a quick FYI on that, some houseplants actually grow too well in our yards. Just make sure to keep it in check and research before planting. Number 5, you can garden year-round down here, and it doesn't have to be a full-time job. I promise I do it. But you must embrace Florida for what it is and truly take to heart that it's not like the rest. I had a client once ask me what to do with her struggling roses. I told her, stop buying roses. But I love them and they remind me of home. Hey, I get it. And roses have come a long way. There are a ton of new varieties, and it's not to say it can't be done down here, because it can, and I've seen it done well. But typically, they just tend to struggle with our humidity, and it causes bacterial and fungal issues to arise. So each to their own, but my personal opinion is this. The humid, warm weather down here already presents enough challenges with pests and diseases. Why exasperate that and constantly have to babysit your plant, buy fungicides, spray it, when instead you could grow something that naturally does well here and looks similar to a rose? Hibiscus is a great substitute, and it comes in a ton of different colors. My favorite are the double hibiscus. Your typical hibiscus has 5 petals, but thanks to modern cultivation techniques, we now have varieties that produce more petals. The layering effect of the double hibiscus, in my opinion, is our version of a tropical rose. And if you love trailing roses, try a mandevilla vine. Mandevilla. They come in pink, red, and white. All right, guys, that wraps up episode 1 of The Florida Gardener. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next week for episode 2.